Hello, everybody, and welcome to the NintendoFuse Podcast. This is episode number 178, titled Super Nintendo World Revealed. I'm your host, Barry, and I'm joined today by Greg.
Hey everyone.
And no, Steve today. He's ditching us today, so unfortunately, you're stuck with the two of us. He's unfortunately busy and is unable to make it, but he should be here next time. So let him know. Just say, this podcast was terrible because lack of Steve. Like let him know he's really missed. I'm sure he'd appreciate that.
I don't know if you
But
want to say it's terrible, but this is the best podcast around, isn't it?
yeah, well, no, we want to keep Steve around, so
Yeah.
his presence was missed.
Yeah, there you go.
So if you are new to the podcast, if you have not viewed us before, just know we are live. So please make sure to subscribe on YouTube or on the podcast channel of your choice. Hit the bell. We have a bunch of social media. We have a Facebook group. We have a Discord. We'd love it if you joined there as well. And if you are live, please talk in the chat room. We will be reading the chat and talking with you guys. We love that. That is one of the things that's great about this podcast is it's an interactive podcast, and we love to hear from you. So let's start up. Greg, what have you been playing lately? What have you been up to in the past 2 weeks?
Question is more of are you sure you want me to talk more about Mario Maker?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes, this is the game of my most anticipated game of the year that finally arrived. Pretty much I've been playing it just about every single day that I can. So the story mode was my first mission. I got all of that stuff taken care of. I fully built the castle and completed all the jobs, got all that stuff completed. And then I dove into the making portion, uploaded my first level within like the day or two after, and then I worked on a second level, which took a few more days to get going because I needed to get some concepts down and figure out what I wanted to do for it. So today I just decided to take a look at the tutorial videos just to see if there's anything that gets unlocked just by viewing them, because I know they were kind of touting that as a feature, so I wasn't sure if they were like hide something secret and just make you watch like tutorial videos, even though I already know what I'm doing. But I noticed you get a little check mark, and my completion itself is telling me that I should have all those completed. So yeah, and I also still continue my dailies both in Fire Emblem Heroes and Dragalia Lost, so that stuff's been ongoing, and yeah, just those three for this last 2 week period for me.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm like you. I've been doing Dragalia Lost as well. I'm so glad they brought back the New Year's event. That is an awesome event to farm, and I'm so happy we have the first fire facility event coming in just a few days. But there's been a little shakeup. We could discuss that in a little bit too with Dragalia. But yeah, of course, I've been definitely doing that. Pokemon Go is super on the back burner. It's so low key at this point. And on my Switch, I've been playing one of my most anticipated games of the year as well. It is not Mario Maker 2, although that is one of my most anticipated games. It is Bloodstained: Ritual of the Night. Um, I was a Kickstarter of that. I absolutely love Metroidvania. I love the classic Castlevania games, and I love the Metroidvania Castlevania games. And this game, to me, had it all. And I know the Switch version is arguably the worst version. It's the least graphical. It does have some slowdown in it, but they all have bugs, like most games nowadays. I played it. I beat it. It took, I think, 28 hours I spent on this game because I farmed. I did a bunch of extra stuff. Like you, I'm a completionist. Uh, and I absolutely adored this game. And I think anybody that likes any type of Metroidvania, like I know Greg, you like Hollow Knight, and Hollow Knight didn't really
Yeah.
pull me in. Hollow Knight did not pull me in, but I like this game is awesome. Like if you have not played this game, I highly, highly recommend you get this game. Even on Switch. I had one crash in 28 hours at the very end. Not the very end of the game, but like at the very, I was really close to the end. I had a good amount of slowdown in one particular zone, the Tower of the Twin Dragons. There's some slowdown there. And occasionally a little bit of long loading in between uh, areas, but not much. It's really a game I definitely recommend you pick up and play. Um, the other game I've been playing, which is also one of my most anticipated games, which has been Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers, and my wife and I finished the story campaign of that, and we're now just farming gear and waiting for the next content, which is in a week. And that game honestly blew my mind. Like I've done tons of MMO expansions, tons of Final Fantasy expansions, all the Final Fantasy story, like the single player, and like I'm gonna say the story of this goes up close to like Final Fantasy 6 and Final Fantasy 9 and 4 for me. Like it is so good. It pulls at your heartstrings. It's just like if you're ever thinking about an MMO, I can't recommend this game enough. And Shadowbringers, just from the music to the atmosphere to the story to the even the side quests, like it's just so good, and it literally is absorbed. And this is why I was so mad at Nintendo for Mario Maker being June 28th, because I really want to play Mario Maker, and unfortunately, the same day as early access, so I have not even opened my Mario Maker. It is still sealed. So now that the story is done, I'll probably be getting to it in a little bit. But yeah, it is just awesome. That is absolutely awesome. And I'm looking in the chat here. Jakester has been playing Link to the Past, and he's the first person I've seen to say that they're glad to be done with Link to the Past. Link to the Past is such a great game. Not my favorite 2D Zelda, but it is definitely a classic. And Greg, you were getting bored with Link to the Past too?
Yeah, that was not my favorite Zelda game. I missed out like on the Super Nintendo, like when it originally was out, and my first playthrough was on Wii in the Virtual Console, because it was like, oh, how did I not play this Zelda game? And then I was not having fun. I just kept thinking like, this is just like a 2D version of Ocarina of Time. This game's not as good as Ocarina of Time. It's what's going on? Like,
Wow. I have no words, Greg. First off, uh, Link to the Past came out first. So
it
if
did,
anything,
yes.
Ocarina of Time would be a quote unquote 3D Link to the Past. Get that right. Order is important. Second off, Link to the
Not
Past. Just,
not according to the timeline. It's not first.
yes. According to the chronological timeline in the games, it does not take place first. You're right. But in order of release and development, it absolutely does. Um,
Yes.
Link to the Past is a true classic, and I I'm so sad to hear that. Like first, Steve says like he didn't like Link's Awakening, and that was like twisting the knife because that is my number one. But now both of you bored with this is not good. How could you bored with Link to the Past? Oh, we got to move on. This is upsetting information here, and let's move on. Let's first move on. Let's talk about briefly what I was alluding to before with Dragalia Lost. For those of you that have been following Dragalia Lost, or even if you haven't, it is Nintendo's second most profitable mobile game behind Fire Emblem Heroes. And of course, Fire Emblem Heroes did come out, I think, a year and a half, 2 years prior to Dragalia Lost. Like it had a really big head start. Dragalia Lost is doing incredible for, I think it's 9 months now. It's been out. It is honestly making a lot of money and very profitable. And the director of Dragalia Lost has been very open and talking with people. He has been posting, here's what's coming up ahead. I want you guys to know what's going on. And then he posts out of nowhere, I'm stepping down. I'm no longer going to be the director of Dragalia Lost. Instead, I'm going to pass it on to somebody else. And someone else who has been in the development with the beginning of Dragon, or at least the end of the beginning cycle, like before launch, which is fine and all, but why? Why is he being shifted away with the game being profitable? And the guy coming in works for a company that has had one game out. I think it's called Battle Worlds. It is no longer in service, but it did have a weird crossover with Bravely Default of all games. Obviously, a Square Enix 3DS RPG and a favorite series of both Greg and myself. So maybe we'll see some Bravely action and Dragalia coming up. But Greg, now that you're back into Dragalia Lost, what did you think of this news when you opened it up and you saw this?
I was definitely surprised I'd be stepping down. I wouldn't think you'd want to be stepping down from a very like successful game. So I don't know. I mean, unless he's working on like a Switch version of the game or something and has other important things going on, then that'd be a good reason for him to step down. But I mean, I don't know what the state has been for Heroes with the people that have been in charge of it, but they never announced anything about change of like directors or like leaders or whatever like that making the decisions. But for all I know, they could have changed like 18 times over in like whatever the 2 year period, but or 3 years, I guess now. I don't know. It's
Hmm.
just kind of curious to say the least that he'd be stepping down, and it'd be nice
Yeah.
to if he told us more what he was getting into, but maybe
Yeah.
it's something else. I mean, I don't know.
One thing that's interesting is September is the 1 year anniversary to Dragalia
Yeah.
Lost, and it would have been nice to see him go the full year. But you know, you said something I didn't I've thought about in the past, and I've been hoping it happens, but I didn't think about it until you literally called it out. Maybe they are doing a Switch version of Dragalia Lost, or another game in the series, and they are pulling him in to work on it with Nintendo in house. Because Cygames is the company that makes Dragalia Lost. Nintendo owns the IP. Nintendo is the parent, so to speak. They are the final say on things, and they might be saying we're going to take this IP and we're going to bring it in house. And this guy is the father of it. This guy is been in charge of it, so he would be a great person to be in charge of a Switch version or a Switch RPG set in the Dragalia universe. That is a good point. That is a
Yeah,
real good point.
I mean, they have very solid set of at least five main characters that they can easily use, along with the villains and everything. That could easily turn into some sort of non-mobile story and fleshed out more and everything. So, I mean,
Yeah. I really hope they do. I mean, if you look at all their other mobile titles, every one of their mobile titles has had a console or handheld follow-up in some form. Every single one. And they stated that. They stated that they wanted their mobile platform to be a gateway. They
yep,
released every title they released was strategic. There's no mobile title that's been put out that has not been a strategic ploy. Even Mitomo at the very beginning, their very first one. I mean, that was a gateway. That was a social experiment, but it also was part of the Tamagotchi Life and Miitopia series, and that led into Miitopia coming out. And Mario Run, obviously put their big franchises out there. But then Fire Emblem Heroes, hey, this franchise was pretty much dead. And now look, after Heroes came out, I think Echoes came out afterwards, and Fire Emblem Warriors, and now Fire Emblem Three Houses. Animal Crossing Pocket Camp was definitely a precursor and a holdover until New Horizons. Uh, and Dr. Mario World and Mario Kart Tour could very well be, you know, placeholders in a sense to get people ready for the next Dr. Mario and Mario Kart title. So why not Dragalia? It's the only mobile title that's a brand new IP that has never had another title, and clearly it's one of their strongest. It's their second most profitable in the shorter time.
I mean that's is like the one of the main other gotchas that they have in the system. So, I mean, I guess the Animal Pocket Camp is kind of also kind of a gotcha style, but I don't know, maybe people are more willing to wait out the time due to the way Animal Crossing works, I guess. So,
Yeah, I think we'll see. I think maybe next E3 we'll hear something about it. But I thought it was interesting, and that's something I really appreciate with Dragalia is that they're continuing. Even the new director did a what's next on Dragalia Lost afterwards, and I see a lot of people like commenting about it, like, oh, it looks like everything's fine. This guy seems to have this handle on it. I think what a lot of people are forgetting about is most of the stuff he's talking about were probably in place prior to this other guy leaving.
oh, I'm
So
yeah, it's just the same people that comment on Heroes like, oh, we want a Blazing Blade banner, not another like Fates Awakening banner, and it's like, well, this has been planned out like months and months in advance. You can't just like, oh, let's push everything that's already done and insert this in because we're getting a lot of fan like comments on it. No, it's like they'll just like they're receiving the feedback, then they'll plan it, and it works out where it gets planned in. So it's just
Yeah.
kind of how it works. You can't
Now,
just like insert.
now I know you mentioned like the gotcha thing and how like it's the only other, as you put it. Jakester says Animal Crossing is kind of gotcha, and I know Mario Kart Tour is kind of gotcha, and Dr. Mario World will also be kind of gotcha. Uh, and even Mitomo was kind of gotcha in a way if you think about it, because I had the little like pinball style games to get the outfits kind of deal, and you had to
Yeah,
you
but
had to get the
I feel like
currency.
people weren't buying the currency in
No, they
Mitomo.
weren't. They really weren't. Um, but that's to me that says something, because a gotcha game does not equal success, because there's a ton of them out there. A ton of them don't make money. A ton of them shut down. They have to be good in order to get someone hooked into a gotcha, and then that's just it. It's one of those things where the game is good enough and the lore is good enough. In fact, if you're even remotely interested, they actually posted, I think on Nintendo Mobile, they posted a little story recap of the first 6 chapters, which is totally spoilery, but it's cute and it kind of just lets you know like, hey, what's going on. They're in chapter 8 now. They're going to be chapter 9. But yeah, it's interesting. They're pushing. There's a reason they're pushing, and it's not just for more people to get more gotcha sales. I think you might be onto something. So I guess time will tell.
Yep.
Speaking of things coming up and what the future holds, there was a little bit of a leak. This little bit of a leak, and I'm not somebody that likes leaks. There have been podcasts where Greg and Steve, you guys talked about leaks, and I've literally left. I was like, nope, I'm done. But this is a different type of leak. This is not for a video game. This is for an amusement park. Super Nintendo World images have popped up on unofficial Universal Orlando podcast Facebook page. 3 images in total have popped up. They show 2 very distinct areas, I should say. Pictures 1 and 2 are kind of similar, but here are some of the highlights from the photos. I'm just going to read these out loud. If you haven't seen the photos yet, you should check them out. But here are some of the highlights, and then we'll discuss them. It seems guests enter through a facade of Bowser's Castle. The sign above Bowser's Castle right now just merely says Mario Kart. It could change, of course. This is just a concept mold. Quick service location is called Toadstool Cafe on the lower level. The family Omnimover ride appears to be named Yoshi's Adventure. Donkey Kong Country shown, where guests would have access through a warp pipe located under the Yoshi ride. And of the 2 pictures, like one of them is like a Mario World, and the other one is Donkey Kong Country, which is really cool. Makes me hope there's a Zelda area. There's a model of Funky Kong's plane. It looks like it's used as an outdoor gift shop. Donkey Kong's treehouse is the backdrop for a meet and greet stage. There are interactive characters along the main path, like Gramby the Rhino. The main roller coaster attraction there is called the Minecart Madness in the model, partially outside, as well as feature indoor scenes. I mean, you got to have a minecart when you think of Donkey Kong Country. The main entrance to this area is a temple, with the minecart jumping the track right at the top of the temple above an integrated waterfall feature. Um, these are just some of the highlights. Of course, this hints to the Mario Kart race. This hints to the Donkey Kong minecart roller coaster. Greg, does this get you excited? Like, what do you think about this? Is this what you pictured in your head when you first heard about this, or is this above and beyond, or worse?
This is, I guess, it was somewhat like spot on. Like I would figure they would want to do like Bowser's Castle. That's a very iconic thing, and they obviously want to do something from Donkey Kong as like one of their oldest characters that Nintendo has like in their IPs. So it obviously makes sense to do the most recent series, like the Return series. So um, yeah, everything has been looking super incredible, and that was really some cool details like Funky's plane, and like you can go inside like one of like the Toad houses for whatever. I mean, it's everything just looks so like neat, and really hope that like it comes out to be at least something, I guess, like this. It obviously might not be, could not be final, and there just could be like speculative, like a diorama like type plan that obviously can easily change. But yeah, that would be super incredible. And like you, I hope there's like a Legend of Zelda area because that's another one of the like biggest franchises that they have. So yeah,
Yeah, it just really makes you wonder how big, how much of the area they're going to use for what, are they going to leave room for expansion, and what other Nintendo properties will be represented. Um, you
I
know,
mean, I would think they'd want to do Pokemon and Zelda. I mean, Pokemon would be really stupid if they didn't. But
Pokemon also has to go with the Pokemon Company, though. It's they need different people for approval on that.
I know, but I would. That's still pretty hand in hand with Nintendo. So
Of course. I mean, Nintendo owns a third of it. I could definitely see Pokemon being like meet and greet sections, like Pikachu appearing there or something like that. What would you do for a Pokemon ride, though? I mean, like, how would you really integrate Pokemon?
Pokefloats.
Okay. That's more integrating Smash Brothers, if you think about it.
No, I know that was just a quick
Well, put up
one-off
Pokemon
joke.
Snap. What about like when you're in one of those cars rolling and you got to take pictures of Pokemon, kind of like the Buzz Lightyear ride in
Yeah, yeah,
Disney where you
yep,
shoot? That would be cool.
yeah. You can. That's easily an idea right there. I mean, you can. You could even have like maybe it's not necessarily a camera, but it could just be something that launches Pokeballs, and you could just like, oh, there's a Pokemon. You just kind of like toss out a Pokeball and you can catch it. And then
Yeah.
they also can have like legendary balls that you can like switch over using a button. I mean, you can do all sorts of stuff with that. So
So they could do a Pokemon area. They could make it like the Safari Zone kind of deal. That would be neat. And obviously Zelda would. I can't see them not doing Zelda. Metroid is one of those that I would love to see, like maybe like something like Space Mountain, but you're in Samus's ship. But I don't know if Metroid is a big enough franchise for a theme park, like an entire world.
yeah,
Although I didn't think Donkey Kong was a big enough franchise for an entire world, because I know number 1, 2, 3 is Pokemon, Mario, and Zelda in terms of sales. But
yeah, yeah, and even Zelda's like a distant third. But I
hey,
get maybe not after so much as after Breath of the Wild though. I know
they need
like
they
tons
need
of
a
people love that.
Xenoblade. That's what they need. They need a Xenoblade section. And all it does, like when we go down there and visit, like this robot just comes and grabs Steve and like forces him to play. Like that's all you're doing here is you're playing as captive.
Here's what they could have done to integrate Xenoblade. They could have like raised up this land super high, so it's like you're on top of these like stone giants back. Like have the entire theme park like on top.
That would be awesome. That would be impressive.
But yeah, that would probably cost way too much and be like safety concerns and elevation issues and
Oh
all sorts
yeah.
of other stuff. But
And so going into the comments, Roth says Donkey Kong Country Ride makes great sense. Reminds him of Splash Mountain at Disney parks. I agree. It reminds me more of Big Thunder Mountain personally, just with the minecart motif. He also says Pokemon would probably take up its own section, Pokemon Snap style. I agree. That'd be awesome. Uh, Jakester says that the Pokemon attraction should be Lavender Town. I don't think the idea is to scar children. I think the idea is for them to have fun, but that is an idea. And Hawada says Zelda would be an escape room. That is a good idea. A Zelda escape room with chimes and everything. Although, could you imagine the wait? Like they'd have to have a lot of those rooms for people. Otherwise, it would be a hellacious wait. You'd have to sign up.
yeah, I mean, either the room could only take like a maximum of like 5-10 minutes, or they would have to have an unreasonable amount of like rooms and like you would need like almost a whole Ganon's castle full of rooms, like different
Yeah.
rooms.
Yeah.
I
Well, they
mean,
could do some kind of random rooms.
if they made it like a special like show like room, and you just had like 3D goggles or something, and like a interactive like keyboard type thing, they could probably do something like that, kind of like the Simpsons ride. But then it wouldn't be as fun if you weren't actually adventuring around. Like,
Well, you know what? They could make like you mentioned Simpsons Ride for me. I date myself Back to the Future for me. But they can make a ride like that, but make it like Dragon's Lair, but with Zelda, with like quick time events where you're whoa, you gotta quickly press left and the whole car goes to the left. Except maybe say you're on Epona or you're in one of those carts and you're using the magnet beam from Breath of the Wild and with a rock and you're just like levitating yourself up. I don't know, be crazy about it.
Yeah.
Something
I
like
did
that.
ride, yeah. I have ridden the Back to the Future ride. I just didn't want to go that far back because it was like I needed something a little bit more recent, like
The
the
last time I
Simpsons
was
ride.
at Universal was still Back to the Future, so it's been a long time for me. So I'm looking forward to this, so I can go back there. And for me, it's going to be a whole new park.
Yeah,
Uh,
we went there to see Harry Potter, so unfortunately that's when that was already gone. So like,
yeah. Oh man. But this looks fantastic. This
yeah,
I love these models. I really do. Like I want to own the models just to have. Like I
yeah,
think that'd be
they'd make
so
a
cool.
fantastic amiibo display.
Oh my God, yes. That is something we need to make happen. Like find these models. I know they're probably under lock and key. Uh,
We have the screenshots. You could probably make it using your own handheld materials.
there's that one guy that did like the whole overworld of Zelda 1 like that, and I just don't. Here. I know Jake's just been waiting for it. I don't have time for that. No time. That's too much work. So there you go, Jakester. No time to build a Super Mario or Super Nintendo World replica model based off of the allegedly leaked. And, speaking of Jakester, he says another attraction, Luigi's Mansion or a Boo House. That fits perfectly, especially with Luigi's Mansion 3, coming out this year.
I mean, there's a lot of easy small things like that could just fit in there.
Yeah.
You obviously don't need like a detailed land like a Zelda land and DK land and
No.
stuff.
Hell, Luigi's Mansion can fit into the Mario World land just fine. I mean,
Yep.
why not? It technically takes place in the same world, so we can make that happen. Universal, don't disappoint us. We're all relying on you. So next up, we have an interesting thing. We talked a little bit about Dragalia Lost with mobile. Fire Emblem Heroes is also back in the news because they are doing a promotion with 3 houses where you get a Byleth hero in Heroes if you connect the Nintendo Network ID for both games when you register the gold coins for Switch. Greg, why don't you talk a little bit about that? You're big into Fire Emblem Heroes.
Yeah, so that was pretty much a great summary. I mean, they sent out a notification at the beginning of July just stating like, oh, if you use the same Nintendo Network ID that you used for Fire Emblem Heroes, then as you do have on your Switch, and then you also do the register the gold coins, which the digital copy is obviously automatically, but for those that don't know, that you can do the same with the physical copies. You just have to like um, go into like the little side menu on the home screen for the game, and then you can select the option to hit register. So pretty much once that is complete, they'll send you the hero to your inbox, and it'll probably be just like the normal 5-star hero, and it's rumored to be the male version, with like probably the female version might appearing on a future summoning event. So that they did say they will be doing summoning events. I don't know how close to the release it will be, but those will be coming up. I mean, there's still like Choose Your Legends coming up, and normally in the summertime they've been knee deep in the summer costumes. So like it's gonna be kind of packed with new banners and right around like the 2.5 anniversary coming up. So
2.5 years. Wow. I remember when that game came out, and I can't believe it's been 2.5 years. That is,
so it's like 2 years of you not playing, pretty much, right?
yeah, it's about 2 years since I played that game. Yeah, it's just incredible. And you play that thing every day. You play that game for like 2.5 years every day.
Yeah, I mean, I have to beat my record for tapped out, which was longer than that. It was like 4 or 5 years on that mobile game.
That is wild. Now here let's do this. Obviously, Fire Emblem Heroes is doing this promotion with Fire Emblem Three Houses. That totally makes sense. And just recently, Dragalia Lost did a cross promotion with Fire Emblem Heroes. What cross promotions do you think you'll see in Fire Emblem Heroes? Like, do you think they'll do it with more Fire Emblem characters, or do you think they're going to do like one with Dragalia, or do you think they're going to do one with like Zelda or any other Nintendo franchise?
Well, I really feel like if they would have done another franchise, that they probably would have done it by now. So I know they are very adamant on keeping trying to add on all the different Fire Emblem hero like characters from the various games. So, I mean, I know every game has representation already, at least some more than others. Obviously, like Fates and Awakening has a much larger representation, but I think those are because they're the most recent games in everybody's minds. But yeah, I mean, it would be nice if they did one with the Dragalia, but I don't know how they would quite get them to work. I don't know. It's a little bit easier for them to put them into Dragalia Lost just due to the nature of the how the game plays a little bit differently, and like there's not as much emphasis on like customizing the characters like there is in Fire Emblem, where you can pretty much give them completely new skill sets by inheriting other heroes into them. So
Yeah, that's when I quit. Like I was reading that, I'm like, oh, this sounds awesome, but it just infinitely got more complicated, and I just here we go again, Jake. I just didn't have time at the time, and I still don't have time now.
well, if I have time to do both, surely you do.
Yeah, but you're not playing an MMO.
True.
See, so
That's a
that's
huge. Those are huge time sinks, from what I
exactly,
hear.
yeah. So that's my vice. So yeah, that's interesting. Now, and there was another interesting game announcement. I know these are there was a Digimon event that happened, and there was the newest Digimon game. Unfortunately, was delayed until 2020. But out of surprise, the Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth, the complete edition, has been announced for the Switch. These games came out on the PS4, and they came out on the Vita. And I want to say the first one came out on the PS3. I could be wrong, but they're coming together for the Switch, and they're coming physically, which is another wonderful thing. Like all these games finally going physical, though we don't know if they're pulling the Capcom route where one game is on the card and one is download. This is Bandai Namco. Hopefully they're being smart about it and putting them both on the card. Have you played these games? Did you ever watch Digimon or anything like that, Greg?
No, I never really got too deep into Digimon, so I
Uh,
didn't really watch that like on TV. I think there was a TV series, but I didn't watch it.
no. Jakester, correct me. It was Anime Expo, but it was like a Digimon panel. See, I've heard that Digimon Story is a fantastic game. Like both of them, they're fantastic games. And I got it on PS4 intending to play it, and I never did. And then I got the sequel and never played it. Uh, and then I got the Vita versions because I'm like, oh, I'll import the Vita ones. They were only released physically in Asian English territories like Singapore. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'll try. I still haven't done it, so maybe now on the Switch with the complete versions, I'll get a chance to try it because I've heard they're really good RPGs. Uh, they're it's just really nice to see Nintendo still getting the support, especially Bandai Namco. But at the same time, these are in more ports. So let's think about this. The first year we had a few ports, and the second year we was almost all ports. I mean, all of Nintendo's stuff was really all ports. And so far this year, we've had one port, as far as I can remember, which was New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe, which really should have just been New Super Mario Brothers All Star, and the other three should have been included. And I don't think people would have had nearly the problem they had with U Deluxe. What do you think? Do you think, Greg, that there will be more ports? Are we done with the ports, or are they going to be slower down, or what do you think?
I don't know. I kind of think that's more coming. I know people are like asking for like the Wonderful 101 and like some other games, so I kind of think that there could be a few more coming. And I mean, we've even talked about Metroid Prime Trilogy, which again would be another port. Um, I just think that possibly right now they're kind of like cooled down a little bit because like the first year we didn't have too many of them. The second year was really filled with them, and I think that's just because of the way that the major titles were kind of falling into place. And then this year seems to be like another like epic year with a number of highly anticipated titles coming. So there's less ports as of now, probably throughout the rest of this year. And then next year it might kind of jump back up, and we might see a few more ports coming over and whatnot. So like it's almost like 1 year on, 1 year off type of deal that they might be trying here.
Well, that makes sense, and I think a lot of people didn't have problems with ports as fillers, not only for people who didn't get to play them, but understanding about development cycles. But I think a lot of people felt last year was so overbearing with ports. Like it was so heavily relied on ports.
I think,
And the new
yeah,
titles weren't that stellar. Like they didn't set the world on fire. Kirby Star Allies or Mario Tennis, like neither of those set the world on fire.
Smash
Uh,
Brothers.
well, yeah, Smash Brothers at the end, Pokemon, and Super Mario Party. Those were the last three big Nintendo titles. But that
Yeah.
was what, September, November, December. We had like nothing. Oh, we October we had Torna, so we had four big titles, and then Torna even was while standalone, it was like an expansion kind of deal. It was a prequel. So you had the rest of you have 8 months where you had Mario Tennis and you had Kirby because Yoshi was delayed. So you had two titles, and then the rest were all ports. Do you think we're going to see that in 2020? Do you think 2020 is going to be very, very back heavy again, and it's going to be filled with the beginning part with all ports?
I mean, it certainly could be. I mean, we don't really have too many titles for 2020 outside of like Animal Crossing and obviously Metroid Prime 4, which has no release date. But
And
I
Bayonetta
mean,
3 as well.
there certainly could be a few more coming into place, kind of like as you said, Metroid Prime trilogy. I mean, people are asking for like the Wonderful 101, and there might even be some other ones that people aren't even considering that could port over, like the Donkey Kong Country Returns or something like that. I don't know, but even though they already have Tropical Freeze, so I don't know. So it might have just been a phase for year two, just to kind of add some great titles in, and they might not need any more in 2020. But I think there'll probably still be some more coming down the way.
Yeah, I do. But do you think they're gonna? I do want to see some Wii U ports. I do. I do want to see. Uh, like Xenoblade Chronicles X, Wonderful 101. Definitely some great Wii U titles. Tokyo Mirage Sessions, Sharp FE, Fatal Frame 5, stuff like that. But I also I wouldn't mind seeing some enhanced versions of like even Wii games or GameCube games. Just it done in compilations, especially like Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is a great game, but I think my biggest problem with that port is it didn't live up to the potential it could have because they could have added Donkey Kong Country Returns in there just so easily, had it as a combo pack, the same price. It would have been so easy for them to do. Uh, and I think people would have been like, this $60 is an easier pill to swallow than just the game with new funky mode, which is $10 more than what it launched at. And like I said, new Super U Deluxe, the same thing. Jakester was wondering what the other three. That would be New Super Mario Brothers for the DS, the New Super Mario Brothers Wii, and New Super Mario Brothers 2, along with New Super Mario Brothers U and Luigi U for the 5 of games total. Um, like that would, to me, that's just smart. That is going a little above and beyond. People are talking about the Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD coming over. If they come over, I'd be fine with them coming over onto the Switch. Make it a 2-pack. Make it a collection 2-pack. Like do things like that. I think people are more apt to purchase older titles or ports when there's more value, and not so much when there's less value. And that doesn't necessarily mean adding new content to the game or adding new modes or anything like that. Just bundle a few older games together. I mean, Namco proved it with the Namco Museum back in the PlayStation days that hey, this can work. And the Switch has a ton of great collections. There's the SNK collection, there's the Atari collection, there's the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle, there's the Darius Cosmic collection. There's just so many of
Mega
these
Man collections, Contra
Mega Man Legacy
collection.
collection, Contra, Castlevania, the Konami arcade. There's so many of these collections, and I think it's important. I think Nintendo should get onto this bandwagon of collections. They used to. They did the Kirby Anniversary one on the Wii. They did the Zelda Collector's Edition on the GameCube. Bring these kind of things back. They did Mario All Stars twice on the SNES and the Wii. Uh, Bring these things back. Do these things. These are what I think what people would be more willing to take. So maybe that's what we'll see in 2020. We'll see some more collections coming out, in addition to like what Bandai Namco just did with the Digimon. There's two games. Let's put them together in the same thing. instead of selling them separately for $60. They were smart. Nintendo, follow suit. Do it.
Yes, I would definitely like to see their collections if they're not going to be expanding the online service to have like the other systems. So,
Yeah. Super NES
and
collection.
it'd be really easy to have like a. I mean, they could just do a Zelda collection. It could have like Link to the Past. It could have Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess. They could put like all of those on there.
All.
Even
All.
even like Skyward Sword.
Skyward Sword is one that they've talked about, and there's no plans right now because of the motion controls. But all the others definitely. Even things, Fire Emblem collection, an original Metroid collection. I mean, they're sitting on this stuff. They're sitting on it. They could even take the Kirby Anniversary Collection from the Wii and bring it over to the Switch, and I think people would buy it. Um, they just they need to capitalize. So we'll see. Uh, I do want to talk about one more story tonight. This is a story that is very weird and very unique, and possibly may not have actually gotten onto the podcast if Steve was here. So I don't know. We'll see. Uh, so I'm just gonna warn you guys now. This is one of the most unique and oddest and brain hurting stories in the fandom at the moment. But there is a cosplayer, and I'm gonna put cosplayer in quotes, named Belle Delphine. She's a 19-year-old Brit. She started cosplaying and building her social media empire, I think, at the age of 14. She's known for wearing wigs and designing her clothes and all this stuff. But because she was so young, she has a very young following. And obviously, this young following is a lot of boys who see a pretty girl and they follow along. Well, she's does some risque things for her patrons, which includes sending risque or nude photos to underage boys because there's no, or girls, because there is no filter. Um, so this girl's already, you know, playing loosely with the law and most likely on the wrong side of it. But she decided, as a joke, I guess, because so many people in her community would post to her saying, "Let me drink your bathwater." So she's decided, okay, and has bottled her bathwater, sold it for 24 pounds or $30 a pop on her own store. It is now sold out because she couldn't take that many baths to meet the demand. Uh, has shipped out bottles of what she calls gamer girl bathwater. And this is a real thing. I wish I was joking. I really do. And people are putting themselves on YouTube drinking her bath water. This is the weirdest thing I've probably read in a long time. Greg, what's your take on this? Like, what does the community come to at this point?
Yeah, this is just some people that don't really. I don't know. It's obviously like in a perverted sense, like that they're wanting to do stuff with like the water and everything, and like she even I saw like she even had like the description of it was just like, oh, like not for drinking and not for doing this, and I saw that there was like somebody that was actually like hospitalized because they drank it or something, and it's like I can't believe that people would still do that or even buy it, let alone for $30. It's like you can't run your own bath and just pretend that she was in there. It's like what the heck?
Yeah, it is so bizarre. And you know what? I hate to say this, but I gotta give her credit in the sense that you know, back in the day, my father used to say, what's next? Are they going to try to sell us water? And you know what? They did it. They sold us bottled water. So what's next? Selling people bath water? Well, yeah, she did it, and people bought it. I mean, she's not a fool. She's actually quite smart if you think about it. 19 years old, she's bringing in six digits. So she's doing something right in terms of that. I mean, what she does is very risque and possibly illegal, but you know, this is totally not illegal. This is just weird and r- just it's disgusting. But at the same time, what does it say about the gaming community that she sold out and couldn't take baths fast enough to produce this product?
Yeah, it's definitely giving it a bad image, especially since it's like, I mean, people get so attached to some streamers and stuff, and that's I've heard other ones could get like requests to be like followed or like get married to them or whatever, like all this creepy behavior, and it just you really have to be careful out there and whatnot. So
Well, celebrities do get stalkers. I mean, absolutely. I mean that happens, male and female. People fall in love with a celebrity and they do some crazy things. So, and in that sense, this is no different, except this time she's kind of feeding the crazy in a sense. Yeah, I just thought this was a really weird thing. I wanted to bring up just because it's so bizarre, and I really want to. I wish Steve was here. I'd love to hear Steve's take. Maybe he'll fill it in the comments, or I'll get an angry DM, be like, "What did you do, Barry? Why were you talking about that?"
yeah, I didn't hear anything about like it. She couldn't take enough baths. I mean, like I saw somebody did like a breakdown, whatever it was like if it was like 6 ounces or something, and like a normal bath is like 2,000 some ounces. It was like you shouldn't have a problem like filling the bottles. It was just probably the initial amount that thought would sell actually just completely sold, I guess. But
I don't know. All the article I read said that she had to stop it because she couldn't take enough baths. I don't know. I just
that
think
could have been a note of sarcasm. But
yeah, it could have been. It's just such a bizarre story. But yeah, there is one thing else we can touch upon. Jakester brings up about Pokemon. There was a new trailer uh, that came out, and it renamed Dynamax to what Giganta casting or whatever. I don't know. I like Dynamax. But they showed off some new Pokemon. Some that were shown at the E3 build, I believe, and they showed off two new trainers. But the real thing that caught me on the trainers thing is this is the first time uh, that each game, in addition to having different Pokemon, will actually have different trainers. So I thought that was interesting. Like finally, they're really changing it up. Um, did you see this trailer, Greg? Or are you
no,
excited for this?
I mean I haven't really been following Pokemon too closely, but I did. I mean, I guess I saw like a related article saying how they're trying to like slowly release like major features, but that doesn't really fall into this trailer though.
Oh, apparently Jake's just correcting me. Black and White apparently had different trainers. I'll be honest, I did not play Black and White. I came back to the frame. I stopped after Ruby. Oh no, I did play a little Diamond Pearl. I didn't do Black and White, and I played a little Black White too. So I did not realize that. So it's nice that they're doing it again. Let me say they didn't do it in Sun and Moon. They didn't do it in X and Y. They didn't do it in Let's Go's. So it's nice to see them do this again. Uh, I just think it's neat. I think they need to do something uh, to differentiate the two versions, and especially with this whole Dex issue, the national Dex issue. Have you seen this, Greg? This is
Yeah,
unbelievable.
I think we had talked about it like at
Yeah,
the right around the E3 podcast where they said they couldn't even bring over like all the Pokemon just because they had trouble trying to balance all of them and whatnot.
it's gotten worse. Like this. I don't even want to waste time talking about it. It's so silly. Just play the game, enjoy it, relax. If you can't use your ice cream Pokemon, I think you'll survive. But yeah, it's it's a ridiculous thing. And you know what? If you really are that upset about it, then I guess all you can do is let them know. Hopefully, with DLC down the road, they'll add more, or they'll use this as a stepping stone, kind of like they used Smash 4 as a stepping stone to build into Ultimate, and the next Pokemon, well, whatever it's going to be called, Table and Share, will have all the Pokemon in it or something. So I guess we'll see.
We should register that domain just so that Nintendo would have to buy it for us.
Pokemon Table, Pokemon Share. That would be awesome. I would be totally up for that. Which would you be? Pokemon table or Pokemon chair? What would you buy?
Probably the table. That one probably could do like a stop move and I don't know.
See, I'd do chair.
I don't know.
But yeah. So yeah, that's always fun. Just so you guys do know, we do love to hear from you. We love to hear from the community. So there's a couple ways you can get in touch with us again. First, you can send in any questions you want via email to podcast@nintendofuse.com. We love to hear from you. You could also go to Twitter or Instagram @NintendoFuse and talk to us there. Facebook, again, facebook.com/NintendoFuse. We also have our Facebook community, and we also have our Discord. Please join our Discord. It's wonderful to get to talk to you. It's definitely more interactive and faster responding uh, social media in a sense. And yeah, we just love to hear from you. So Greg, upcoming releases in the next 2 weeks. Is there anything you're excited about?
Yeah, as we kind of touched on briefly a little bit earlier, Dr. Mario World launches on Wednesday, so I'll be checking that out. I signed up to be notified upon its release, which obviously is just 2 days away now. Um, Outside of that, I didn't really see a lot of stuff that I would necessarily like buy. I mean, can definitely look into more of them as time goes on. I mean, I know Dragon Quest Builders 2 is right around the corner. I never played the first one, and unsure if I would like that one as much as I like Mario Maker, but I might have to play the demo really quick to find out if I'll like it. But I'll probably be still knee deep in Mario Maker, trying to get as much stuff done before Three Houses comes out at the end of the month.
Yeah, that's right. That comes out in the end of the month. Holy crap. So close. Does that come out before our next podcast or after?
I think it's after because
Okay.
our next one is what, like the 20.
It is the 22nd.
Yeah, so I think it comes out on the Friday after,
Okay, so you
the
have a
26th.
little time. You have a little
Yep.
time. See, for me, I do need to hit Mario Maker 2, and I probably will get to it between next podcast. A game that it's not out within the next 2 weeks, but it actually just came out, called Will. It intrigued me. I like visual novel type games, so I might give that a shot. But Greg, I did find the game that you should be totally playing. That it just came out today. It's called Tokyo School Life. You can find your high school sweetheart on your trip to Japan.
Oh my
So
gosh,
I
really?
totally think this is the game that you should be buying and playing. Like I think that totally fits you.
Yeah, I'll have to get right on that. I'll have to go order a copy to get delivered next hour or two.
Yes, absolutely. Uh, oh man. Well, how can I say? This is always fun. It stinks not having Steve with us, but I do want to thank everybody in the chat. We had quite a lively chat session. We had Jakester and we had Roth and we had Hawada. Thank you guys for joining. We love hearing from you guys. We love talking with you guys, and we love that you guys join us every single time. It is wonderful. If you enjoy podcasts like this or other Nintendo content, please remember to subscribe to our YouTube, to our social media, to go to nintendofuse.com, and most importantly, share. If you have friends that love Nintendo, have them join the Discord, have them talk with us. We'd love to hear from them. So please, we'd really greatly appreciate that. The next episode, as we already said, will be on July 22nd, 2019. Hopefully, Steve will be here to take over hosting duties, and he can probably start the podcast, with lots of exclamations. What did you do last time, Barry? This last time I leave you in charge, talking about gamer girl bathwater. What's wrong with you? Greg, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
No problem, man. Always great talking with games and opinions and stuff.
Absolutely. And for everyone out there, thanks for listening. Have a great night, and we'll see you next time.